Hi, this is Lori Houston, and we are introducing you to David Watson, who is a deep trance channeler for a group of part of his soul group called The Willows, and his website can be reached at AsktheWillows.com. And we're going to talk to David right now about, just do an introduction on who you are.
Well, not so much who I am, I guess. Suppose what I do. I've been doing what's known as channeling for the last 30-odd years. It's about 1984, so it'll be 30 years this year. And it's something that I believe I came into rather naturally. I had seen other people channeling, and I felt a natural urge to move into that energy myself, so I did. And lo and behold, I found in a very short period of time that I picked up the essentials of going into an altered state of consciousness, going into a deep, relaxed state, like going into a meditative state, putting the conscious mind to one side and connecting with what I like to call source energy, or, through the source energy that comes from me, we call it the Willows, which is just a name that we hung on them. Willows, they reach for the sky and touch the ground, and a very nice sense of connection between the earth and the stars, so to speak. But channeling is something that I seem to have come by rather naturally. It's the first time I did channel, I channeled with a friend of mine, Cliff Preston, who happens to be a channeler as well. And Cliff's still with us, thank heavens. And he channels the echo. And many years ago, I had become friends with him and his wife, Linda, and they kept threatening to teach me how to channel, and one day we did. And I've been doing it ever since. I had one lesson with them, and then they took off with the information, actually, from the channeling session that I did for them, because I did channel the very first time I did it. And they went off to Rankin Inlet to live up in the Northwest Territories, where Cliff was working as a stationary engineer for a few years. Great isolation pay and a good gig for him. But I didn't have any formal education as far as this was concerned, although I don't think there's a channeler's U around anywhere. But anyway, I began to practice, and over the years I became more adept at doing what I do, until eventually I came into doing this on a full-time basis about 15 years ago now. So that's been keeping me relatively busy, and keeping me focused on my own growth, as well as giving me the ability to work with other people who come with questions about life, about life processes, about relationships, about careers, about past lives, sometimes about health. Those kind of things are often of great interest to folks. Right. And don't like to do a lot of predicting. Don't like to say what is or isn't going to happen. Nothing is written in stone, as I've discovered over the years. In fact, whenever somebody comes for any kind of a channeling process, the moment they get the information, that begins to change the outcome. So, starting to deal with the random factor, and people always like to try and make it a little more easier for them in their lives to, get some information about what's coming up, so they can make their lives easier to live in. But that future is never written in the way many people like to think it is.
Believe, yes, yeah. The fate and destiny.
Well, that's a whole other story in itself, fate and destiny. But I believe that we create our own destiny, and fate is que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be, and it's up to us not to succumb to it, but to roll with it and to work with it, which is one of the reasons I do channel. Is because the Willows have a very positive perspective in life. They have a tendency to focus on progression, no retribution. Always advising and recommending we look deeper into ourselves rather than to point a finger at somebody else. It's a relatively positive approach to life, and as I say, it's something that was a lot of fun developing, and I guess I'm still the process of developing it as well, because I don't think we ever stop growing and we never stop becoming more of who we are. The Willows have been a part of me now for just about 30 years, and I guess I'm as much a part of them as they are of me. And in actual fact, just to clarify things, it's not a schizophrenic process. It's not like me and them. It's more like us, and it's more an understanding that I've come to comprehend over the years that each one of us can fall into that feeling of connectiveness with the larger, energy of life and the larger place we all live in. We're all part of the big picture. We're not apart from it. So that's one of the things I've taken from the channeling process, and I apply in my life as well. I know people who do channel others, and it's almost as if they're captured by their channeled source, and I find that interesting. I've never felt that way myself. I've always felt in charge and completely relaxed with the process.
Right. Did you want to talk about any of the other things that you do? I know you call yourself a life strategist. Did you want to?
Well, when you go to my website, AsktheWillows.com, I do mention a little bit about the fact that I do what I'm going to call life strategizing. We used to call it psychotherapy, but as rules, regulations, and terminology changes, so do what we do. Used to be called life coaches, that kind of thing. But in actual fact, I came to the conclusion doing psychotherapy over the years. I practiced NLP and core belief engineering and Psych K and a couple of other very interesting short-term therapies. But the conclusion I came to is that nobody's broken. That everybody is, everybody is fine underneath it all. We just have to get there. So that's why life strategizing is a term I like to use now, because it is all about working strategies out, figuring out what we're going to do, how we're going to handle this situation or that situation, and stop trying to live our life via crisis management and begin to live our lives on purpose, quite literally. So, I think that's grown out of doing the deep trance work over the years. It naturally led me into other areas, because once you start connecting to, that invisible part of yourself, that connection you have with the big picture, it's hard not to want to introspect and begin to look at your own psychological core and to try and figure out who, what, when, where, how, and, well, sometimes even why, but rarely. So those kind of interests led me into doing the psychotherapy work. So I still see a number of clients to help them with life strategies, and I do consultations and phone consultations and that sort of thing, of keeping people on their toes around the world. That's pretty much what I'm doing these days. That and the readings, and of course, I do classes. I teach workshops. I actually have created a workshop teaching people how to channel, how to develop psychic abilities. We do past life workshops, happiness and workshops. We're just coming up with a workshop on to address how to live a benevolent life. Nice. A new concept introduced to me by an old friend recently, and I just found it quite riveting, and it's just really flowed, as benevolence always does, into my life, and has really made me have a broader vision of what I would like to do as far as this type of a workshop is concerned. So, yeah, things that are engaging people in the ability to become self-actuated, to feel balanced and grounded in their own lives, because there's so much in the world out there that really has a tendency to beat on us a lot. Our expectations about what we should or shouldn't do, and what we should or shouldn't have, and we get sucked up into the consumerism vortex from time to time. Oh, I've got to have that. Really, you don't, but so we have a lot of demands, and then there's the demands of relationships and families and mortgages and cars, and oh my God, and that's
health.
And health. Oh yeah, we got the health. Yeah, that's right. So all of those issues are so powerful in our lives. I was thinking, it's kind of like you lose sight of the forest for all the trees out there, and I think that's what happens to us. So, working with psychotherapy, working with the Willows, putting workshops together to help people connect with that core part of themselves, gives us all an opportunity to feel like we are our own person. Again, quite often we lose our identity in the social order we live within. We come to think that we, in actual fact, are who we are who we're told we are, rather than who we can really discover we are. So that's the purpose of.
Nice. All right, so you can find out more about David if you go to his website, AsktheWillows.com, and we'll have hopefully quite a few videos up here that you can peruse to understand some of the questions that the Willows are offering.
Perfect.
All right.